long time ago in a Holmesdale far, far away. Episode 1. The Rise of Games and Hobbies. It is a period of gaming war. Rebel players, striking from a hidden base in the heart of historic Holmesdale at 552 Main Street, have won their first victory against the dull empire of the mundane. During the battle, Rebel spies managed to steal secret plans to the Empire's ultimate weapon, the Dragon's Den, an armored gaming store with enough power to provide endless entertainment. Pursued by the Empire's sinister agents, gamers race home aboard their starships, custodians of the stolen plans that can save their people and restore freedom to the galaxy. Join the rebellion and embark on epic quests from the strategic depths of Magic the Gathering to the fantastical realms of Dungeons & Dragons and the galactic battles of Star Wars tabletop games. The Den holds the key to victory. Our extensive selection of board games promises endless fun for friends and family. The Den is open for your daily dose of fun, Monday from 2 p.m. to 7 p.m., Tuesday through Thursday from 1 p.m. to 9 p.m., Friday from 1 p.m. to 10 p.m., Saturday from 12 p.m. to 10 p.m., and Sunday from 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. Whether you are a seasoned gamer or new to the dice, our welcoming community and knowledgeable staff are here to guide you through the stars. For inquiries, transmit messages to 570-647-4633 or via the Holonet at dragonsdengamingandhobbies@gmail.com. Stay updated with the latest Rebel dispatches and events by following us on the Holonet at facebook.com/dragonsdenpa. Dragons Den Games and Hobbies, where every game is an adventure waiting to unfold. Visit us today and let the games begin.
Yep. What's going on, man? I could not help but bop to that myself the entire time that was playing. My head was bopping to the beat. I love it. It's just so catchy. It's so nice. It's so fun. But what is going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of NDT Gaming. This is our second episode of this show. We want
muted.
So, since I'm having problems with my microphone cord, Yes, tonight we decided that we're going to talk about the game that got me into gaming, what got me hooked when I was a little kid. We're going to talk about Final Fantasy. I know Jared has a love for Final Fantasy as well. My love of it started right from the very beginning with the NES. Final Fantasy, the original one, is the game that really started it all for me. Jared, where did you start your Final Fantasy journey?
7. Can you hear me?
I can't hear you.
Ma, you sound like you're in a fishbowl.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Where's my technical difficulties sound?
Well, I don't know what's going on. But anyway.
Oh, shit!
Can you hear me now? Can I hear you?
Can you hear me?
Why can't I hear you?
I don't know.
Well, we seem to be having a little bit of an issue here. No idea. Anyway, Jared, can you take it for a minute until I figure this out?
We got you. We'll bring Mike on because he knows his shit. So
thanks for having me on.
Yeah. So where did you start off in your Final Fantasy series?
I started off with 4, and that was like on the Super Nintendo, if I'm not mistaken. That's where I got my start from Final Fantasy.
4 was pretty good. I know that followed Cecil Harvey, one of the Dark Knights.
I know the popular thing to say is 7 or 8, and those are like the big ones that everybody kind of really loved. And 9 should be up there, but a lot of people do not have, I guess, as much love for 9 as they did 7.
I went back and played a little bit of the remake, but 9, I did not get into too much of that. Let's see, 9 was, I have my notes.
Well, 9 was incredible. 9 was the last of like before they redid the new ones, it was the last one that was like knights and dragons and that kind of stuff. Before we started doing like the steam, like after the steampunk of like 7 and 8, 9 was completely changing everything, and that's kind of a big thing too. But not a lot of people were into that. They wanted to go back to 8 was that whole setup. 7 with Cloud and the grungy steampunk feel to it. That's what everybody wanted.
Yeah, I played a little bit 8, but 9. Yeah, I know that followed Zidane. Are you there? Can you hear me?
8 was just the draw system.
I give up.
People away from it. Corey, not for nothing, I can hear you.
Yeah, it was coming in through my my webcam microphone. Somehow, my computer stopped picking up my microphone, which also messes with my headphones because that's where I'm plugged in. Anyway, technical difficulties for the first time in such a long time, but beautiful. Anyway, yeah, now I'm back. I'll let you guys continue so I can hear what you were talking about now.
No, we're talking about 9.
Talking about 9?
9.
Well, that one.
I don't know where you started. Where did you say you started at? 3?
I started with 1. One was the very first that I played. I had a Nintendo way back in the day, and that's one of the first video games I ever had. It's funny because that's my dad even played that game. So he borrowed it from a friend of his who was also on the police force. And he played that game. My dad isn't one for playing video games, but he played it. And I think he liked it because, it's a strategy-based game. And then I started to play it and I really got into it. And I just fell in love with this genre of game. I fell in love with the RPGs, stuff that really makes you think, and it takes a long time to beat it. Something that you get your money's worth,
Yeah.
But Final Fantasy 9 I really liked too, because that had a real fantasy feel to it. With all of the characters, like there's so many different characters. There's anamorphic characters. It's just a whole. It's really like the fantasy genre. But
it was also one of the first Final Fantasies and like really video games that got a major commercial through a bigger company. Coca-Cola did a whole commercial for Final Fantasy 9.
Did they really?
I'm gonna find that commercial.
Well, and before we get too far into it, since you mentioned it before stream, and I ended up looking for it too. I'll let you explain it, Mike. Why is it called Final Fantasy? A lot of people thought that there was something to it. It's something story based, but there's more behind the title than that.
Well, a lot of people, it is kind of like, he picked the name for the sake that, this was his first game he made, and this is he thought his last one. So he's like, screw it, let's put all of our money in down and Final Fantasy, here we go. And how many games later now that he has? $1 billion later, and he did it.
Yeah, it worked.
I mean, I don't think he's in charge of it anymore, but that's incredible to see your project go from Final Fantasy 1 that you see on the screen there to what it is now. It's incredible. Like, your characters, watch them breathe to 8-bit pixels. It's incredible.
Yeah.
We'll let Jared play the commercial now, and then we'll go back to talking about. I want to talk more about the original there.
Yeah.
Man, that was such a good game. The characters were so good in that. Vivi, man, if you were a fan of the original series, you were a fan of this original game. Vivi was so nostalgic because he was a black mage. And then you have Garnet there, who's kind of like the white mage.
Well, when she's running from the castle, she's wearing the white mage's cloak, which she grabs when she runs. That's kind of a tip of the hat to the white mage.
Yeah, and you see them do that a little bit in other games in the series, like especially 15. If you've played that one, you'll see a lot of nods to the originals, especially to 7. You definitely see the nods to 7 in that one.
Well, and it's holding true even to now. There's a Cid in every game.
Yes. Yeah, I love how they do that. And he's always like an older, well-respected character that's full of wisdom. And generally seems to be the kind of guy who really, he's the flyer. He likes his airships. That's what I'm getting out of it anyway. So the original Final Fantasy, it's kind of like, to me, it's just a Dungeons and Dragons turned into a video game.
That's more or less what it was. It was really what got the American audience into role-playing games. It was one of those bigger games that came out over here that were like, what is this? This isn't Mario jumping on a turtle. And for a lot of people, this was their big start into getting into kind of like the nerd culture of you have Stranger Things now. You have a bunch of things that brought like Dungeons and Dragons to then, it's Critical Role, that kind of stuff. Back then, this is all you had before it was cool to be the nerd.
Yeah. There's just so much about this game that I love, man. And I'm gonna get distracted here watching it. I know that, but it's just there's so many different ways that you can play this game. This game to me is a lot like what drew me to Skyrim when I started playing that. The Elder Scrolls Skyrim is you have multiple ways to go about the game. So when you beat it one way, you have another option to go ahead and try to do it. And if you're a real gamer, man, if you like to try to, everyone likes to try to 100% their games. Or if you like to have a challenge in your games, there's different ways to do that with this. Like there's 6 different characters. You can build your party however you want. You get 4 characters out of the 6, and you can make any combination of them that you want. If you want to go all brawlers, go ahead and choose all fighters. Your team will be stacked. Great defense, great offense. You don't have anything to worry about. You want a difficult challenge? Go all black mages. It's so hard to play the game that way. Or you could just choose to not worry about gold in the least bit and just go all black belts, which is your monk class, and you just fight with your fists the whole way through. Beautiful.
That's what I liked about like the later Final Fantasies. I would probably say it would be 10-2. 10-2 kind of started into it, and then you had 13 and 13-2. But like 10-2, you had the dress spheres. So you can dress them, like you can switch your styles.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you got into 13, you had that trigger system, and you can go with like Commando, Ravager, Sentinel, or you can just like do different builds where you can do all 3 Ravagers and trigger quicker. So yeah, the whole switching your characters into different role types, for me, I think I love 13.
Well, Final Fantasy X was even the first Final Fantasy to have voice acting.
Yeah.
That was huge. That was
Yes, it was.
You finally could put the voices behind them. This isn't like when Final Fantasy 7 came out and you never really got Cloud's voice until I believe the movie came out. Advent Children came out. They finally put the voice to it. And then he was in Kingdom Hearts, and the guy did that kind of soft, I hate to call it the emo voice, but that's kind of what they gave Cloud. Titus and Yuna and all that was the first ones that really have that was big. That was huge. And it was on the PS2.
What did you think though? So for me, that was like a huge moment. Like when I watched Advent Children.
Yes.
And it was mostly
Waka was cool, Gemma.
It was mostly the Cloud, and then you got to a point in the movie where all the characters started coming in, and you started seeing all of them 3D, like not polygon.
Yeah.
And you were just like in awe. What did you think of the voices, like as they came into the show? Because when you were playing 7, in your mind, you're trying to do these voices, right? Like when you're reading them off, did they meet somewhat of their voice like that you had pictured?
Absolutely, I think so. I mean, I saw it in theaters. I know the one up at Montage, they actually played it in theaters, and I actually got to go see it, which was for its time, this is incredible. You walk back at it now, it's obviously dated graphics with AI, whatever it is, but for its day, that was incredible. This was the game that changed gaming, was Final Fantasy 7, and the movie to come out when they were showing it's going to be Sephiroth in the wheelchair, it's going to be this, and they're going to resurrect Aerith, and there was a whole spew of it. I mean, the movie wasn't perfect, it wasn't great, but it was definitely a fan favorite for a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. I think Barrett's voice they nailed exactly. That's exactly how I pictured Barrett's voice sounding. That was so perfect. And I think Cloud is perfect too, because he's like that angsty teen, man. I think, like you said, Mike, that emo voice, that little angsty emo voice, it's perfect for him. I would love to get one of these voice actors on the show to talk to him just to see what they thought of the project.
Kate Sith is what threw me off.
Yeah.
His voice. I did not picture that one.
In Kingdom Hearts, when you get to go fight Sephiroth, his voice is Lance Bass from NSYNC.
Oh, really? That's fantastic. Gemma says 1000% Barrett's voice is exactly what I heard reading the original. She also said in 10 she loved Riku. She's so stinking cute. Yeah, I agree. Riku was definitely one of my favorite characters in that one. Waka too. Waka's funny.
Yeah.
10 and 7 have the highest cosplay outfits when they go to cons and stuff like that. You always see Cloud, Sephiroth, you see Yuna a lot, you'll see Titus a lot, you'll see Riku a lot.
Lulu. You definitely see Lulu.
You see a ton of Lulus.
So 2 weeks ago when we had our show, we talked a little bit about how a soundtrack can make or break a game. I think the Final Fantasy VII soundtrack, or Final Fantasy VII soundtrack, is one of my favorite of all time. But the Final Fantasy series in general, they do a pretty good job with their soundtracks. To build on that, the way you're talking about, 10 was the first one to actually have, or to put voices to characters. I think that's another game changer. To get the right voice actors, to get the people to portray these characters the right way can really make or break a game. I think if you get the wrong voice actors and it doesn't sound right, it's sloppy, they're not emphatic enough, they don't sound like they're playing their role to a T, it can really ruin a game.
That's 100% right. That is 100% what it is. You have one chance for everybody to listen to Aerith's voice for the first time, or listen to Tifa's voice and be like, okay, I can see her voice being that. Or if it's wrong, that game is shot. It's ruined.
Yeah. Yep. Aerith in Final Fantasy VII, dude, the remake, she's got such a soft, innocent voice that's perfect for her. Tifa is just the right amount of tough, I guess. I think if she was any more gruff than she is, that would have ruined it. But yeah, dude, it's really make or break. It is. Now to go back, because I really love this one. I keep looking down at it. The original Final Fantasy. Now that I know this was just like their one last hoorah, their Final Fantasy, their last chance to get this right and to make some money off of it. I feel like they shortened it, or maybe it's for the time, maybe, that time, that era of games. That's why it's so short. Like you can beat the game in like 11 or 12 hours if you're running through it. But I think that story could be expanded upon so much. Like if they wanted to put real characters into it, like they did the rest of the series, that could be such a good story.
Well, it's definitely one of the games that inspired the whole, like the crystals.
Yes.
If you remember, it was go get the crystals. That was in 4. That was in, I believe, 1. Like 1, 2, 3, or that. They even went to that as far as 9. 9 at the end was, saving the crystal, saving the world, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And there's been different times where I've thought about trying to write something for it. Maybe I'll do it someday just for fun. But I think it would be so cool, man. And you see Advent Children and you see all these newer stories, and you see that these companies are starting to put turn video games into movies. And it makes me wonder, man, are they ever going to do this with this series? Are they ever going to do this for us? Because I would love that. Here you go, Yuna.
Well, there was a Final Fantasy movie and it was awful.
Spirits Within.
Spirits Within had nothing. Yeah.
Oh
seriously.
my God, I was so mad.
Yeah, that was horrible.
Terrible.
This is considered to be like one of the best cutscenes in gaming history.
Is it really?
You don't think the one where they met up in the Blue Water Cave or something like that? Where
Yeah,
they
I was gonna say that one was
float
cool.
on water and they kiss.
I said one of.
Sure.
It wasn't the best though.
Do you think the movie? Which one came first? This game 10, or did Avatar come first? Which one? Because I feel like Avatar took from that scene.
This game came first. This was PS2.
That's what I thought. So this game was before the movie Avatar. I definitely think that they took something from it because it looks eerily similar, doesn't it?
Way to go, James Cameron.
See, they're inspiring all of the creative world. We're good.
Yeah.
So Gemma says she's played every single Final Fantasy game. I started with 1. I had a Nintendo, regular NES, and then I jumped from Nintendo and Sega over to the first PlayStation. So I went from Final Fantasy 1 to Final Fantasy 7. So I never played 2 through 6. Currently playing 2. I started playing 2 the other day. And I feel, maybe it's just because of where we're at now with gaming, where all these newer Final Fantasy games, it takes 35 plus hours to beat, between 35 and 80, depending on how much of the game you actually want to beat. It seems like it plays so quick. Like I've got at least 7 or 8 hours into it already, and I feel like I'm most of the way through. I'm like, holy crap, it's moving quick. But everybody says that 6 is the best. So I told Mike before, I'm going to tell you guys now, the very next one I'm going to play is going to be 6, because I got to see what the draw is for that game and why everyone says that the storyline's better than 7, because to me, 7 is the best storyline.
6 has a better villain.
Really?
Yes, this is actually one of the best cutscenes that it won cutscene of the year when this dropped.
Oh yeah, I mean the graphics at this time when this switched over, awesome. You're like, how did the graphics switch from the game to like this?
Yeah.
And this was PlayStation 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, how crazy is it to think that PlayStation 2 came out 24 years ago? Jeez. Insane, right? But yeah, to be a cutscene for a PlayStation 2, that's wild. Especially when you think back to Final Fantasy 7 and 8, even 9. Even 9's cutscenes weren't even like this.
Yeah.
9's were cool, but it wasn't like that.
Well, going back to your point about saying with Kefka and being better than Sephiroth, Kefka won.
Yeah.
Sephiroth didn't. So I mean, I mean, he's the guy with the long hair there, but he's like, oh my god, he's the best villain. And I'm like, yeah, but he lost. Kefka won.
But like and I can't say until I play 6, but out of all the ones that I've played, Sephiroth, his backstory, and then the story that you play through, his character is just, it's so perfect. They do such a good job with him. They say this guy here too, Garland from the original, is one of the top villains.
Well, he's a repeat villain too. You'll see him in every other Final Fantasy game now.
Yeah. So one thing I really enjoyed was in Final Fantasy VIII, when you're at the end of the game and you're climbing that tower, right, to fight the the sorceress or whatever she is. When you're climbing that tower, you start fighting all of the elemental titans from the original.
When you're fighting Edia.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When you're climbing that, you would get to fight every titan from the original game. And I love it. The first time I did that, I was blown away. I was like, this is so cool. This is like the coolest thing ever. I love it. So a lot of people now that, all these new ones are coming out, the play style that they're doing now, it's almost like a hack and slash. To me, I prefer the original. I know that you still have, I don't know if what would it be? It's not really active time, but it's not ATB. What would you call this now? With 15 and 16 and the new remake for 7.
But it's hard to say because you can change that fighting style.
You can.
Yeah, they did
but
make it where you can change it,
but it says that you could do it classic, but it's really not. It's not the same.
I don't know.
It's not at all the same.
I guess you'd say free mode. You can openly fight
free mode.
Switch it back to.
So I believe they did that because kids today, the younger market today, they got this problem with their attention span. So they like things to be now, quick, do it now, need action right now. Whereas when I was growing up, this kind of stuff here, where you get to build a strategy and you get to do the level grinding, I loved that. I prefer that.
Well, Final Fantasy VI, when that came out, that wasn't the game you were trying to speed run in like a week. You had to pace yourself for this. This was a game you chipped away month by month at.
Yeah.
You wanted this to last as long as you can. There's so many pickable, grab, this hero, grab that hero, get this, your perfect party and go. This wasn't something I'm trying to get done over a weekend. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Speedrun is such a big thing in the gaming community. And for Final Fantasy, it was never like that.
Yeah, and it almost seems like it is now because you got like this video that we're playing right now. It's not necessarily a speed run, but it's like a straight playthrough, and in 11 hours. 11 hours done. These people try to bust through it as quick as they can, and they're really turning everything into speed runs now. And they go back to all these classic games and try to beat them as quick as they can. I don't know. I guess to each their own in the gaming world, but for me, I want to get my money's worth, so I want it to last. I'll repeat this phrase. I'll parrot this phrase through the entire gaming series that we're going to do here. I want my money's worth, man. I want a game that I can play for a long time and then, break away from it, do some other stuff, and then get that urge again to go back to it and play it again. And again, take my time and get my money's worth.
Elden Ring.
I'm going to get that as soon as I'm able to, man. But
I know,
it's not in the cards right now.
Price.
I was going to say, it's up there. I'm not waiting. I'm not waiting for it to come down in price. I'm just waiting for me to be able to afford it. Yeah. So if Jared, did you play any of the early ones? Did you play any of the early Final Fantasies?
Man, I started with 7. I don't think I played anything beyond that. I did, however, because I did download on my computer 3.
You downloaded
3?
So
I went back and was trying out 3. And then there's also this one, I think they were doing like World of Final Fantasy, where it's kind of like pre-7 graphics, but it's like a whole different story. So it's not set in order. I'm not sure where it places it at, but I'm not sure where World of Final Fantasy came in. I want to say it was done after 13, like they went back and made this game.
That's another one. I got to go back and play 13 and try to beat that one. I played a
Sounds
little
good.
bit of it, but I never finished it. I must have gotten distracted and played something else. So
that came out. Oh, let's see. World of Final Fantasy came
You can
out.
get the collector set now that is all the old like retro games. You can go buy it on like the Switch and everything, and it is like 1 through 6.
2016, so it is fairly new, kind of.
All right. So, Mike, for someone like Jared, who's never really dabbled in the older Final Fantasy games, would you say it's worth it to him, to someone new to the series? Is it worth it to them to go back and play the older games? 1, 2, 3, 4.
I think for me it was to definitely go back and play the old ones and have a deeper appreciation of where we came from with this. Now, not everybody's like that. Some people don't like going back. You know, it is a different play game. It's not going to play like 7. It's not going to play like 8 or 9 or anything. It is a lot of this turn-based, you know, walk 3 feet, fight some imps. Walk 3 feet, fight some imps. I mean, like, that's just how it is. Like I said, the Switch came out, or I believe it's on all the consoles. It was a collection of 1 through 6. You can play them.
Yeah.
And that's something I definitely recommend. I picked it up. I absolutely love it. Like, I'm playing again, like 4 again. That's just one of my go-tos. It was the first one I ever played.
I almost bought the pack when I was looking on the PlayStation Store because it came with 1 through 6, but it was like $70 or $80 at the time. So I just started buying them individually. So it's like $11, $12, $15 for each one. It's really not that bad. So Jared, since you have that beautiful PS5 now, you can always go into that PlayStation Store from time to time, grab one of them, and play that bad boy through. Get a little nostalgic with it. Get a little nostalgic with it. That's why I'm going to start getting all those old games. That's what those are the games I love, man. Like I said the last time, I kind of fell into being an Apex streamer when I was on Twitch all the time. But that's not the kind of game that I love. I did that game because I was playing with my wife and my friends. But man, this shit's got my heart. Final Fantasy's got my heart. This kind of style's got my heart.
Well, 2 big news out of the recently dropped is Final Fantasy 9 is getting a remake, and so is Final Fantasy Tactics is getting a remake, and that's huge.
So, as far as the Final Fantasy 9 remake, Jared, do you want to play our cool stinger? I mean, we might as well utilize it while we can, right?
Got it.
So with Final Fantasy 9, you said remake. So is it going to be a remake like the 7 remake, or is it going to be more of a remastering?
God, I hope not. No, from what I understand, it is a remake. They're going to do what they did with 7 and like kind of update the story a little bit, which kind of scares me a little because the story was perfect the way it was. You don't need to add, any nonsensory to it.
You don't need fluff. They don't need that fluff.
No
see what I found.
Ooh, there you go. Final Fantasy 1 and 2. That's perfect.
There it is. Nothing.
Got it.
Perfect. So 9, if 9 gets a remake, I'm going to be really excited. If I also heard that 8 was going to. I don't know if there's any truth to that because I really liked 8 as well. But
you got to be careful with it because the sources I'm getting with 8 remake is half of them are from kids just pulling information out of their ass.
Yeah.
And the other one is like, well, I heard from a friend of mine it's getting remade. And it's like, until you see solid facts, you really can't say anything. This is from Square Enix. They're going to do Final Fantasy 9 remake and they're going to do Final Fantasy Tactics.
So, and the thing with that is now when I heard that they were going to be doing the remake for 7, they also had 16 being done at the same time. And I was like, why are they doing this? Why are they trying to do one and the other at the same time? But they have different groups that work on the different projects. So it's not just like the companies working on one game at a time. They have different groups, different teams working on each game. So if that's the way that they're going to roll with it, they could feasibly do all of this. They can give us all the nostalgia we want. But like you said, it is a little scary to hear that they might update it and alter the story a little bit because now why don't we spend a little bit of time on the 7 remake?
You feel like they altered that one?
We let the dust settle a little bit. There's no spoil. I mean, the spoilers if you haven't played it yet, but it's been long enough. I think we can talk about it. So there's the original remake, and then there's Rebirth. Okay, and at the end of the first game, I'll just say that I thought that they were going to go in a different type of direction. I thought they were going to make it so that it's an alternate universe or a parallel universe, and that the story was going to change a little bit just by the one scene at the very end where they crossed, and it was like a flash, almost like a flashback, but it's like they felt a presence as they were walking by. I was like, they're going to do like a parallel universe. So they might alter the story. And then Mike, Jared, online, all the rumors, the one scene, the tragic scene that we all fucking cried about as a kid. I did. I don't know if you did. I did. I cried.
What, the fires at Nibelheim? No.
The Aerith.
Yeah, okay.
So that scene, made me blubber like a baby. And people were trying to find ways to get cheats to where they save Aerith, this, that, and the other. Now with the remake, with all this conjecture going on about how they're going to change the story, you had people saying, oh, she's going to be saved. She's going to be saved. You're going to have the option to save her. She's going to be saved. The story's going to change. Jared, I don't know if you got to it yet or not. But I haven't
finished Rebirth.
So I'm going to say this. I was left confused as all hell at the end of Rebirth.
We're all confused after Rebirth.
I think I have a grasp. I think it's like the start of the downfall of Cloud's mind. I think that's what it is. But shit, man. I thought I was going to get... I don't know. I thought I was going to be happy, man.
There was going to be some redemption.
Yeah, I thought I was going to be happy. I thought we were going to get like that reversal. I don't know. It's just, I guess you got to be happy when they keep the story, but there's a lot of the story that's no longer the story, and there's other parts that are the story.
Well, also a big part of it for the first half of the game, all you're doing is setting up radio beacons. That's it.
Yeah, in Rebirth. Yeah. So they did this thing where in a lot of the newer games, when you have a game that's an open map game, an open world game, there's a lot of side quests. So Final Fantasy VII has resorted to being one of the group in that, one of the crowd, being part of the crowd with it. Why? I understand you want to fill the time out. You want to give people something to do so that they explore and get all over the map. But at the same time, man, do you feel like it's an open map? Because I don't feel like it's a true open map. Maybe it's just me. I feel like it's more like a linear map. No.
You're on a path. You're 100% on a path.
Yes. You can go back and forth on that path, but you're on a path. It's not like that's the one thing I think that's regrettable about Rebirth. So in the original remake, you have the city of Midgar. You're in Midgar. So I get it, but you're definitely following a path in Midgar. So I had high hopes that once you got out of Midgar into the second game, that it's going to be open world. And it's not a true open world. So I do have mixed feelings about the game. While I'm happy that they are giving us this new look at the classic that we loved so much, I feel like they're also taking a little bit away from it at the same time.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just me.
7 had that open world feel. You can go around. You had different vehicles to get you at different places, but you can go where you wanted to.
Yeah, and I still love going back to Final Fantasy VII because there's nothing more fun than just trying to level up your materia and level up your everything. Just everything that you can do in that game. To fighting the ultimate bosses in the Emerald weapon and the Ruby weapon and all that shit. I don't know.
Well, you're not wrong. But what people have a bigger complaint about is the fact that at the end of the first Final Fantasy VII remake, it felt like Kingdom Hearts. It kind of was like getting to this where it was like the fate is controlling everything and you have to beat fate and you have to do this. And a lot of people were like, well, that was never part of Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, the confusion in 7. In Rebirth, I thought I knew what was happening. I thought I was following along when you actually get to the story parts. But I really don't. I don't know if anybody that is watching now or watches after we're done being live and shit. And, if you guys felt like you had an idea of what was going on, please comment, let us know, because I had no idea what was happening in that. Like, it was, I don't know.
The biggest complaint, like you said about the end too, what everybody feels like was like, okay, Eris's portal jumping again, and it's like, okay, well, she died, but she didn't. Then she came back, and he was like, "Wake up, princess!" And he's like, "Haha, I'm not really dead." And people felt very like confused about that.
Yeah. Like I said, the way I'm looking at it is it's the start of the deterioration of his mind. Like the first clip that they Jared, I feel bad talking about it now because you didn't beat it yet.
You're fine. I haven't started Rebirth, so.
But when they
demo,
go,
which is great.
When they go and show that cutscene, and he notices Sephiroth coming down, and he makes that jump, my heart beat like 10 times. I was like, yes, sweet. I'm getting what I wanted, because I wanted that since I was 12 years old, guys. 26 years. I've wanted this. Vindication. Yes, give it to me. And then the flashes back and forth. It had me so stunned. I'm like, wait a minute. So did this happen in front of him? And then his mind just kind of snapped. And it showed him what he wanted to see. And he thinks that she's there. And he thinks he saved her. But he didn't. Because everyone else was somber. Every other character was somber. He's the only one that reacted to her at the end of that.
Well, Genova was kind of the big thing with that, is it plays with your mind. That's what Genova's whole little tricks are. So that's where a lot of people are saying that's coming from. This is just all because Genova's screwing with his brain.
Yeah. Yeah. And maybe Genova's screwing with our brains. Maybe something's going to change in that last rendition. In part 3, something will change. Maybe we will get our way.
I did like they were giving you a little bit more story about Zack. You know, like
they did. Yeah, they really did.
Yeah.
They did give a lot of info and insight into Zack's story, which I thought at the end there, the final boss, the involvement of Zack was crazy. But yeah, okay.
Oh, sorry. I think Zack is one of those characters that's you either love him or you hate him too.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, look at the game that came out. Was it Crisis Core when it came out, and how big that was on the PSP? That was the reason I ran out and bought a PSP, was to play that game.
Yes, me too. I did the same thing. I bought it just for that. It's the only thing I played on there.
The whole storytelling about Cloud, it actually turned out it was Zack that was Cloud. Cloud was actually one of the soldiers, or the.
Yeah, he was basically just a foot soldier for Shinra.
He wasn't actually soldier.
First class, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that part was told in the original as well.
And I'm like, so which one did Tifa like? Did Tifa have a thing with Cloud, or did Tifa have a thing with Zack?
Tifa had a thing with Cloud, always did. That was the thing that like she always hinted at him, was like, I always liked you. It was that thing.
Because
Zack was Aerith's guy. Like that was that whole situation, was that like it was supposed to be Tifa, Cloud, Zack, Aerith. Like that was that whole.
Well, like the whole thing with the water tower, where she was reminiscing about the water tower and stuff like that, and the storytelling was actually Cloud was telling it, but in a way, the storytelling was coming from Zack. You know what I mean? Like the story was actually Zack was telling the story and not Cloud. So like that's why they might do wonder if Tifa was actually.
So Zack and Cloud knew each other in Shinra.
Yes. Yeah.
They knew each other, so they worked on missions together. They became friends.
So these stories,
So
they knew each other. Yeah.
He could have knew Cloud's stories from Nibelheim.
Exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. And I think the whole time through the whole story, when Cloud's talking about being soldier first class, I mean, in the original, you can tell through context how Tifa feels about it. But in the remake, you can hear it in her voice, the inflection and stuff, where she seems confused by him saying these words. So like you could tell that she's like, I don't remember you being a soldier.
Yeah.
Well, even in 7, the first part, they tell you like it was because they got the Mako all mixed up and that kind of stuff, that he was, when Hojo was working on him down in the mansion, like that they got their memories kind of swapped a little bit. That's where he kind of got, goofy with it. In the remake, it's Tifa sitting up there. Remember when he's telling the story about this, and she's like, "That's kind of not how I remember it, but okay, if that's what you say so, that should be your first hint."
Yeah, the Mako poisoning is real, guys. Mako poisoning is real. I don't know. I'm really looking forward to the third one. Like, I'm kind of nervous. Like, I don't know how they're gonna finish it out. The other thing I didn't like about the Rebirth was Weapon. Weapon was completely different in Rebirth. And to me, in the original game, when Weapon is first introduced, the first one that comes out that gets blasted by the Junin cannon, that was an iconic scene.
Crystal or Emerald? I think it was.
No, it wasn't Emerald. It was Sapphire Weapon.
Sapphire Weapon.
It was Sapphire, yeah, because then you have to go kill Diamond later.
Yeah, that one comes out and comes up out of the water, blasts the hole in Junin, and then gets its head obliterated by the cannon. That's an iconic scene. To me, that's one of the most memorable scenes in the game from when I was a kid. So to take that, cut it out completely, and then create a new weapon that's like created in mass, as you can see through the entire game, they're all over. They're the same thing, and they look like a giant whale.
And that's what scares me, because the weapons battle are supposed to be, like you said before, the most iconic part of 7 was going to fight these things, was going down to the water, fighting Emerald, going to the sand to fight Ruby. Like, these were these iconic parts of the game, and if you're going to cut that out, it's kind of a big deal.
Yeah. Now, if I remember correctly, in the original title, they weren't in the Japanese version, were they? They were something that was added later to the North American game.
Emerald, the one in the water, was the one added in, if I'm not mistaken. It was Ruby and Emerald that were the two that were added in.
Yeah, Emerald and Ruby. Yeah. So I don't know. I think they didn't do weapon justice in Rebirth. And if they continue on that path for the third installment, I think that it's going to leave such a bad taste in my mouth. I'm not going to be happy about it at all, because aside from those, they're just, because Emerald and Ruby are just bonus fights. But you do fight Ultimate Weapon and you do fight Diamond Weapon as a part of the main storyline. And those are like larger than life bosses, man.
Because those were actually in the original. So Emerald and Ruby were the ones that were added to the
Yes. Version. So they looked badass, though. Like, they looked intimidating. The ones that they put in Rebirth look like a couple of whales, man. They look like something you'd see on an adventure on a cruise ship. It doesn't look threatening to me. Like, those are supposed to be what's protecting the planet. I don't know.
Well, it shows in the numbers. 14 and 7 are, they failed to meet their expectations, and Square Enix had to have a whole talk about that, where it's like, I thought you said this game was going to sell, and it really didn't.
Yeah. Well, here's the problem is, like, you have people like us who, we're true gamers at heart. We love to game. It doesn't matter how old we are. We're always going to do it, right? So we have this feeling of nostalgia. Final Fantasy VII, it was like the biggest thing, larger than life to us way back when. So when it comes out, we're going to buy it. But there's that other crowd that played it when we were younger, but they don't play video games now. They don't have time for video games now. So they're not going to go out and buy it. So their job is to appeal to a new audience as well. So what are they doing to appeal to this new audience? Because to me, it almost seems like they're really just trying to sell the nostalgia. That's what they're trying to do. But what can they do to appeal to new gamers?
But that's the thing. That's what this whole remake is. It's trying to go after the older gamer. Mm-hmm. It's trying to go after the guys who played the original. That's who they're trying to grab. They don't care about the 15-year-old kid who's never played this game before. They're trying to go after, your dollar. That's who they're after with this.
See, I feel like if that was the case, I feel like they would have done things a little bit differently. Instead of altering the story as much as they did and altering the play style as much as they did, they would have kept it more true to its roots and just updated graphics and not so much. I guess not so much.
Say that'd be more remastered than it would be remake.
Yeah, well, I don't know, man. If you gave it the graphics that it has today, but still stayed a little more true to what it used to be, instead of doing what they did with it, I don't know. Maybe that's just my opinion, but I feel like by changing the battle style and making it to where it's all these side quests like kids are used to now, I feel like that's their way of trying to grab a new crowd as well. They're trying to play to the old crowd, the nostalgic players, and grab the new crowd at the same time, and maybe it's backfiring.
Well, it's like I said before. It's they tried to go, here's Sephiroth, here's Cloud. You'll buy it. You'll buy it. You'll buy
Yeah.
it. And then when it didn't go according to plan, they're like, oh look, here's more of this. Here's more of this. You'll buy it. It's okay. Here comes Sid. You'll buy it. You'll buy it. And it's like, it's not working this time.
Yeah.
I mean, it shows in sales. That last game slumped for them. It slumped hard because a lot of people were very confused about what was going on, and they're like, well, 3 better be amazing or else you're in trouble.
It really better be, man. And they have to do something to blow us away. I mean, do you think they still play around with the Aerith thing?
100%, I think they do.
Yeah.
Well, think about spoiler. Here we go. The end part where it's like he's the only one interacting with her. Now, is she still alive, or is this just like a kind of spirit following her around from the what the hell do they call that thing? The live stream.
All right.
Or is this an Aerith that's been jumping through the different time portals and all that stuff and just following them around? Like, which one is this? Because it's supposed to be cut into 3 parts. It's like the part that you remember from back in 1997, the part where Aerith lived, and there's the part where Aerith dies, and you're just trying to figure out where are we? Because now you're starting to cross dimension jumping or something, and it confused everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, all that back and forth without explanation. It's kind of like the Witcher series on Netflix in the beginning of that, where they were kind of talking, or they were going back and forth between Yennefer and Geralt, and it was different times. It was different time frames, but they didn't do anything to let you know that. So it's almost like you thought it was happening at the same time. I feel like that's what they did in Rebirth. There was a lot of jumping around. It's either jumping around in time or it's jumping around in dimensions, like you said. And I can't figure out what it is.
Nobody else can either. And we won't figure out till 2027. That's what they said.
2027, such a long way away, man. Like I can't. I'm going to go crazy.
Are you worried it's going to be a potential loss of interest?
No. Well, I don't know. So the remake came out in 2020, correct? So then Rebirth came out in 2020. Wait, when did that come out? 2024, right? Earlier this year.
Or was it this year? Probably was.
It was this year, right? February or something?
Yeah.
That sounds right. It's like February.
So that's 4 years. 2027 is 3 years. Yeah, I think if they pushed it five or more, yeah, that would have been terrible. That's why I'm kind of excited about the potential 9 remake. When did you say that one's
still just a rumor? It's still a rumor, but it was on a leaked upcoming game list.
Oh, really?
But it was rumored that 9 and Tactics.
It's kind of the big talk of the town right now, as you said, with like it got leaked, and a lot of people were very like, "Oh, that's a big thing." Like, the problem was half the people that reported it was coming out was not a very reliable source. It's just a bunch of kids talking on the internet. And the other half is from actually very reliable sources who actually leaked the Final Fantasy VII remake that said, yeah, it's coming.
So here's my thing. I think it's a good move on their part because they can do the same thing where they're kind of trying to cater to the nostalgic players and try to pull in some newer players as well. But how far do they take this series? Because these stories aren't easy to come up with. So what we're going to wait for is 17 going to come before the 9 remake?
That's their call, not mine.
But that's what I'm saying though. Like, how far does this go? So it's kind of like Hollywood where they're going to start dipping into the past and pulling from their titles that were really popular and really successful.
I was going to say, I think they stopped the remakes.
You think they stopped the remakes?
I mean, what's left to remake maybe after 9?
6.
You think they would do 6?
If 6 is the most popular one in the series and it was never done in 3D, imagine how it's gonna go now. Like, imagine the appeal now.
Well, the problem also, look at Kingdom Hearts, what they suffered from. 1 came out, amazing. 2 came out, great. All those filler games in between, and then like 10 years later, 3 finally drops. And I think a lot of people came from, oh wait, I forgot that series is still going on.
Yep, you gotta build on it while the hype is still up there. But Kingdom Hearts is another game I got. Like, I have it. I have the box set now. I just have not gotten around to playing it because while it's similar to Final Fantasy and they use characters from Final Fantasy, they still have Disney characters. And my mind cannot wrap my head around the fact that they're using these Disney characters for an RPG. I
don't like Lance Bass and Sephiroth.
Get it? I can't do it.
It's
man.
Pretty fun.
I just can't.
Know.
I have not been able to bring myself to do it.
They are fun games, though. They was a good time.
Mandy.
The most popular was 7, but people will argue that 6 was a lot stronger of a game. But according to lists, 7 was the most popular.
I just had a list over here before that it was I think here are some of the best Final Fantasy games with the best stories. It's from GameRant.com. Number 8 is Final Fantasy 15. Number 7 is Final Fantasy 7 Crisis Core. 6 is Final Fantasy 4. 5 is Final Fantasy 10. I'm surprised that's not higher. 4 is Final Fantasy 8. So Final Fantasy 8 beat out 10 on this list. Final Fantasy Tactics is 3. Believe it or not, I've never played Tactics. Apparently, I need to. 2 is Final Fantasy 7, and 1 is 6.
I agree to that almost.
Almost to a T, that list?
Almost.
Yeah, I found another list. Looks like some people are going with 6.
But again,
one choice.
To each their own, right? To each their own. So 6 is definitely one I need to check out, and apparently Final Fantasy Tactics. So I'll look for that. Is that on the PlayStation Store as well?
I think so.
Okay, we'll be able to find all these. Mandy, how are you doing tonight? Alex, my lovely wife. Off topic. 2 cute bunnies in the backyard, guys. There's 2 cute bunnies in the backyard. It's a good night. It's a good night.
Great night. We can see bunnies.
2 bunnies, 1 garden.
Oh God! Oh God! So I don't know, man. I'm telling you, Jared. It's if the gaming industry is anything like Hollywood, they're just going to continue to milk a cash cow. They're going to go back to the stuff that's made the money in the past, and the further out we get from it, the better the remakes are going to be in their eyes. Anyways, it's not necessarily to our eyes, but to their eyes, they'll be like, well, they played this game 10, 15, 20 years ago. Let's give them an updated version. They'll play it. They'll buy it. They'll play it. Who knows if they're going to like it, but they'll buy it. Like, that's the bottom line, is getting you to buy it.
I've never played 6, but I'd probably buy it, a remake of 6.
Guys, I really want a remake of the original. I want a remake of the original, but I want it to be legit characters. Like, I want the 6 characters, not necessarily you being able to pick your own party and having the same kind of character, like all 4 fighters, all 4 black mages, whatever it may be. I want you to meet with the Light Warriors, and I want them to build a real story on it. I want them to make a 35, 40-hour game out of this. I think that would be really cool, just because I love the enemies, the bosses in this game. I love it. Garland is great. He turns into chaos at the end. The 4 Titans. I love the idea of the Titans, defeating them to revive the orbs. I feel like there could be more of a story built into this.
Yeah, you know what game you should get?
What?
Elden Ring.
Elden Ring.
The problem with remaking something like 6 is how big that game is. It's not a game like this where you can beat it in 4 hours and you're done. 6 is going to take like a month and change to beat, and to remake that from a Super Nintendo game, that would take like almost years to make.
They're doing it with 7, 3 installments. So basically, it's taking them 10 years for the entire game.
Yeah.
It's a funny name on there. What's the funny name on there?
It must be on the game.
I'm good, just chilling at home. Heck yeah. So yeah, we're just talking a little bit of gaming tonight. This is our NDT gaming episode. We will be doing these on Friday night, guys. Tonight we are joined by Mike from Dragon's Den, who also happens to be one of our fantastic sponsors that you can find right down on Main Street in Honesdale, Pennsylvania. They do a lot of tabletop games, card games, and if I recall correctly, Mike, you are going to get back into selling video games.
Well, the empty shelf behind me was full of retro stuff, and it's all gone. So, yeah.
Damn, let's go. So that's exciting news. So every Friday night, guys, you can find us here at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. We're going to discuss all kinds of different topics. Tonight, we really focused on Final Fantasy. If you have a game that is one of your favorites and you would love to dive into it and talk about it, you let us know. Reach out here, reach out on Facebook. Guys, we're all over the place. Just give us hints, tips, advice. Let us know if you want to be a guest and talk about one of your favorite games as well. We're just here to have fun, have a good time. So do not feel bad about reaching out and chatting with us a little bit. Do we have any other gaming news that we wanted to touch on tonight?
Yeah, I was gonna say, unfortunately, the game that I was looking forward to, let me just double check the date.
I was really hoping we had a little more info on the Final Fantasy IX remake, like what we can expect from it.
It's just rumors right now. That's the tough part about it is like
Conjecture.
You can spend the next hour filling in with, well, could have this, it could be this, it could be that, it could be this. BB may not die at the end of 9 like this time, or who knows? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mandy, I really appreciate that. You're not lame. You have your own hobbies. Gaming might not be one of them, but I appreciate the fact that you are here hanging out with us. She also says, Jared, smile. Life's not that
smile.
hard.
This is my twin brother's bestie. So
Is it?
Yeah.
Very nice.
I know her from high school.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
That's always nice. It's nice when you get support of people that you know.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice. For the longest time, we went without that. Oh, I appreciate you, Mike.
So Frostpunk 2 got delayed.
That's the one you were really looking forward to.
So it was supposed to come out this month, like in a few weeks, and it got postponed to September. So kind of bummed out.
It's a couple months away.
It's going to be a really good game.
Something went wrong.
I don't know. So like the DLC for Elden Ring came out recently. Been playing that. I would say, and it's happened in the past probably, but a DLC would probably get nominated for Game of the Year. Could happen. But,
yeah, you think so?
I mean, Elden Ring, when it came out, won Game of the Year. The DLC that they just came out with, easily, I have not seen anything this year that would compare to the DLC that just dropped.
Really?
This year. I mean, there could be some upcoming stuff, but this year, this DLC is like it. Like it surpasses Diablo 4.
Everybody's talking about it.
Baldur's
Every gamer that I talk to, they're like, "Oh, have you gotten the new DLC for Elden Ring?" I'm like, "Dude, I haven't even gotten Elden Ring yet."
You get it.
Soon. How much is the DLC for it? Same amount as the game?
No, the game's probably 50, 60. The DLC's 40.
The DLC's 40.
Yeah.
It must add that much gameplay then, right? It has to.
It's supposed to be like earth-shattering, like the most like incredible DLC to ever drop. That's what they're saying.
I've only played like 3 hours of it, and I'm like, I won't put it down. I put it down to be here, but
so
yeah,
that's another one of those games I know I'm gonna like once I get it because again, same as Final Fantasy, same as Skyrim. There's a bunch of different ways to play it. Like you could build your character in an infinite amount of ways.
You can go in different directions. It's all open world. You can go this way. You can go that way. You don't have to go towards the boss, and you can just go fight whatever you want to fight.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. There's a couple of things, and we'll talk about Final Fantasy some more in the future once I get a couple more of the games under my belt. The one thing I did want to mention, the big difference that I'm seeing in Final Fantasy 2 from Final Fantasy 1 to 2 is the leveling system. And we can get into the leveling systems and all the different Final Fantasy games one of these days. It's going to take too long to talk about them today.
Yeah,
and
I was
about
going to say,
we
can get into a whole thing about UIs. Yeah.
It's crazy.
So.
It's crazy the difference because it's almost like Final Fantasy 2. There's no like your character is not a certain level. Most of the other games, it's like you're level 1, you're level 10, you're level 15, you progress. This one, no levels, 0. Zilch. Everything levels individually. Crazy. All right. Anything else for tonight before we head out? We're at that hour mark. I don't want to bore anybody for much longer. No. I could depend on you, brother. I was gonna ask you before the show, and I'm like, nah.
Oh, I had it.
I was gonna see if you could do it.
That was everybody's ringtone back when Advent Children came out.
Me too.
It's still my ringtone.
I love it. I changed it because I got a little tired of it, and I started watching One Piece, and I wanted a One Piece ringtone. But yeah,
you know what my text messages are?
Ew, One Piece.
Chocobos.
Yes, the work.
Yeah.
We'll get into Chocobos one of these days too, guys. Talk about Chocobos, the giant chickens of Final Fantasy. Oh, this is so cool. Andy, well, take care. Have a great day and night. I got to go pick up my oldest and waiting for my bestie to hopefully come down. Much love and holidays. Hey, thank you, Mandy. Appreciate you for stopping by. Everybody else, thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight and chatting a little bit about Final Fantasy. Thank you for putting up with technical difficulties in the beginning of the episode. That was very rare and unexpected. Glad I got it sorted out. I might need a new cable for this. Good thing I got some spares. As long as we're good to go, guys, we will see you back here this Sunday for the variety show at 7 p.m. Eastern. Until then, everybody, later.